When we are asked to graph, we actually have two types of graphing. We have one type where it looks like y equals mx plus b, and then we have another type when it doesn't. And the reason that we have two types is because it's easiest to do one method for this scenario. It saves you a lot of time, although the one that we're going to do for this problem, you can technically do for this one as well. So it's just up to you which you prefer, but I do want to show you both. So if you do have y equals mx plus b, then we can begin with b and move with m. Begin with b and move with m. That's kind of like the summary of the method. We begin with b because that is our y-intercept. And so our b value is our y-intercept going on our y-axis, and we put a dot. Then our move with m tells us how to rise and how to run. So -3 is our rise and +4 is our run. If I'm rising -3, that actually means that I'm going down 3. And then I'm running +4, which is to the right. So down 3 and to the right 4, and put a dot. If you wanted to do a couple more, you can to make your line better. And then you're going to want to use anything with a straight edge so that you can draw a straight line. So I have my folder that I'm going to use, and you're going to want to line up the points the best that you can and draw a line all the way through your entire coordinate graph. So now we're going to do, this only works for the y equals mx plus b. So now we're going to do the other method of ones where we don't have y equals mx plus b. What do we do? And in this case, we're going to use the zeros method. So this one is begin with b, move with m. This is the zeros. And the reason it's the zeros method is because we are going to plug in 0 for x and solve, and then plug in 0 for y and solve to plug them on our graph. And so if I plug in 0 for x, I have 0 minus 3y equals -6. And so then my 0 part just cancels, and we're left with -3y equals -6, and we get to divide. So we get y equals, be careful with negatives, that's a +2. And so if it's y equals +2, it goes on the y-axis, and we have a dot. But now we need another dot, so we can't just have one, we need 2 points that we can use to draw our line. And so now we're going to repeat this method, but plug in 0 for y this time. And so we have x minus 3 times 0 equals -6. The nice thing about zeros is that even this part, like 3 times 0 is 0, so that just goes away. And we're left with x equals -6. And there's nothing to divide out in front of x. So this is our x-intercept. We had one less step than this one. And if x is -6, it goes on the x-axis. And again, you're going to get your straight edge. And be extra careful because you only have 2 dots for this. Try to go right through the middle of the dots and go all the way through your graph. So now, obviously on a test, you aren't going to be able to like draw these. Like we don't have a good way for that to happen. And so what you're mostly going to be asked to do is make sure that the graph matches the equation. And so if you are given an equation and you're asked to match the graph, you want to still kind of do this method, but you're just making sure it matches. So I begin with b, and so I know I need to start at -2, and that's where this one does. If you had 4 other options, like let's say this was an option of ours, this one starts at +2, so I could automatically get rid of this as an answer for this problem. And so we begin with b, then we move with m, and we go down 3 and over to the right 4. So kind of on your computer screen, you can trace down 3 and over 4 and see if it matches. This one does, And so this would be our answer. This is the choice you'd want to choose. If you were given the graph and asked to match the equation, you would do the exact same thing, except you might have to try multiple equations. So you'd look at answer option A and say, okay, x is supposed to be -6, great, and y is supposed to be 2, great, this one is my answer. And then you'd try the other ones as well until you get to the correct one.